Hello everyone, welcome to Jacqs Scraps. Thank you for joining me today for What a Card Wednesday. Today we are using the Papercraft Essentials issue 159 and we are going to be assembling a Father's Day card similar or at least using the same mechanisms of this particular pull-out design is what they call it, or some others call it a slider card. The magazine came with this great die and stamp set called Man of the Moment, and we will be using some of these pieces for our card. To get started, we're going to use the stamps, and we'll use the bear, the hat, the monocle, and the words Happy and Father's Day. We will also be using some of the cardstock from the Rugged collection from Authentique. So we will start with the bear, using our We Are Memory Keepers Precision Press Advance and some black archival ink. We will ink up the stamp. And I'm using the Authentique Rugged paper that looks like leather. This way I don't have to do any coloring of the bear with markers. There we go. This is our first piece, and we will fussy cut this out. So I just remembered I forgot to put the monocle on the bear, so I'm going to do that now, and we'll see how that looks. And there we have it. Next I will be doing the bowler hat and the sentiment, Happy and Father's Day, and then I will also be using the bow tie and cutting that out. I've decided to use some cardstock, some craft cardstock that I have. I have actually two kinds. This solid die core crafty premium cardstock from Coordinations, as well as Recollections craft cardstock. And this is 65 pounds. So I'll probably use this for the mechanism as well as the hat or something like that. So I'm going to kind of mix up those two colors. I kind of like that variation, but I'm not going to go through each step. Okay, so I have all the pieces stamped and cut out. This is the bowler hat, and what I did here was added a little arrow so that they would be able to see that and then know to pull up on the hat. And here is the little bow. So cute. Love that. And then for the sentiment, I stamped this out using my Versamark. And then I used Zing embossing powder, and I used gold metallic finish. So I really like how that came out. I think it needed something, a little something something. So I think that gave it what it needed. So there's our additional components. Next thing we're going to be doing is taking some of our craft cardstock and making our mechanism for the slider part. And what I've decided to do was use like this little T type of arrangement. I know that in certain stamp sets like Lawn Fawn, they do have die cuts where it already has the shape for you if you didn't want to make your own. But we will be making our own today. I do not have that die cut. So I first cut out 4 inches, and then I cut out this to be 1 1/8 inch wide. So let's do that. So after you have the base page created, what you're going to do is cut in about 1/8 of an inch or 3/16 of an inch. Okay, now I do have this template that I already created, and you can use that. You can use your ruler and be specific about it, or you can just guesstimate and cut into it on both sides. Not too much, just a little bit, because what we need is a 3/4 of an inch mechanism in the middle. So then the next thing you're going to do is cut both of these sides off, okay? Now, I don't think you need to be exact with this. You just need a slider mechanism, however you create it. This will work just fine. And what I did was use my corner chomper and rounded the corners. Using the 1/4 of an inch side. And there we have it. This is our slider mechanism. Now, as you can see, this was the first time I did it, and I actually measured this one, so it would be 3/4 inch across. Now this one, I did freehand, and this is about 5/8 of an inch across. Again, it doesn't matter as long as you have a mechanism that you can use in your card. For the card base, I am using the Craft A7 cards and envelopes, and what I've actually done is taking one of the card bases and I have cut this down to be 4 across, 4 1/4 across by 5 1/2 in length. So this is the card base. The first layer on our card will be a section that is 4 across and 5 1/4 in length. That will be layered on top of here. From this sheet of the Authentic paper pack, we are going to be using a piece out of that measures 3 by 5 1/4. The first thing we're going to do is go ahead and adhere our first layer, and I'm using score tape, and I will put that down on top of it. Next, we're going to be working on the center piece, and the first thing I wanted to do was kind of figure out my placement, and as I was doing that, I put the bow tie on here already so I would know not to go any below that point. One of the tricky things here, I must be honest, is to figure out how to explain this to you so that it makes sense. I've done this a couple times now. I feel like I'm just rambling and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So please bear with me as I try to explain this. So once you figure out the placement of your main focal piece, what you need to do is create a slot for the mechanism to slide into, so that you could then add your bowler hat as well as your sentiment to the mechanism. And because these are the pieces that are going to be pulled up from underneath the bear. Okay? So once I've already figured out the placement, I knew that I would want the slider hole to be somewhere around here in the middle of the bear. So I marked that out. I actually did use my pencil to make some markings there. And I used my craft knife to just create a small slit in the card. Okay? So let's see if our slider piece works, and it does. The reason we added the little T kind of at the end was so that it would be a stopper on this side. Because if you didn't have that, it would just go all the way through it, and then it would come off the card. So we see that that works. It works really well. The next thing we want to do is we could actually go ahead and put our bear onto the card. So let's go ahead and do that. And then the next thing we want to do is figure out the placement for the bowler hat. Okay, so we're moving the slider piece all the way down to the end of the card, okay? So you can see on that side. So this tells us that we could put some foam here and add it right there to the end of the slider piece. So let me get some foam tape on that. I've doubled it up and I've even kind of angled the edges there. And I did that just so it wouldn't be so noticeable if you looked at the card from the side. Okay, so we still have this here at the bottom. And let's go ahead and add the hat where we want it. Okay, now that we have aligned our bowler hat to the double-sided foam, I'm going to lift this up and we're going to apply glue to the top of our sentiment here and glue that onto the center. And we're going to slide that down. And there you have it. If you are concerned about the mechanism not staying straight, for this I just took a 2-inch piece of cardstock and we look on this side to see where we want the sentiment to be, and then we know how far up to put the stopper. Well, this is not a stopper, but to keep it straight. Okay, so we've glued that to the bottom. The mechanism can still move, and we will glue this shut here. Just hold that for a moment. And there we go. So on this side. And then now this will go straight instead of curving. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is add glue to the sides, but not the center. And we will adhere that to our card base. So here's how the card turned out with added ribbon. I really think that looks great. And on the inside, I stamped the sentiment, "Have a spectacular day." For the envelope, I just took an 8 1/8 by 8 1/8 paper. It is craft cardstock that I showed you before. I cut that down and then I used my envelope punch board and created that. And for the front, I just used a piece of the cardstock that matches the card that we created, and that measures 4 by 2 3/4. And then I added another piece of craft on top of it so you could, address it if you wanted to mail it or even hand it out. It's 3 1/2 by 2 1/4. I wanted to put something else on here, but I haven't been able to figure out what it is yet. I tried a car, but it didn't really work. So I think I'm going to end this here, and you can certainly decorate your envelope more than I have. I may be giving this in person, so it probably won't matter much. But so this has been our card for today, our Father's Day card. I think it turned out really cute, and I'm really excited that I'm able to give that to my dad this year in person. So thanks a lot for joining me, everyone. Stay tuned for information on our next card, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.